नमस्ते। हम हमारे नए एपिसोड के साथ हाजिर हैं। आज हम डॉक्टर माइकल विलियम्स से बात करेंगे, जो कि यूनाइटेड क्रिश्चियन फोरम के प्रेसिडेंट हैं। तो चलें उनसे बात करते हैं। वेलकम डॉक्टर विलियम्स टू आवर प्रोग्राम।
Thank you, Sonal, for having me on the show.
Yeah. So I have just seen that you'll have come up with the year 2024's uh, report, actually, a statement on the report of the violence against Christians, which
Yes.
is 824. You all have recorded. Would you like to say something about it?
So, as you know, United Christian Forum makes an effort to send out an annual report every January, which gives all the phone calls that we have received on our 1-800 number for the entire year. And we were more than alarmed this year when we calculated all of the numbers that we were way into the 800 figures for the very first time in the history of independent India, that anybody has recorded such a large scale spread of violence against the Christian community of India. This has been shocking. And that is what we have sort of put forward in our press release that we have received, that you have got.
Right. So the major issue or other states which have got a huge number of cases is Uttar Pradesh and Chhattisgarh, one very large state and one kind of a smaller state.
Yes. Well, but don't be surprised, because they're all neighboring states. Pretty much the entire central Indian Hindu heartland, so as to say, where we are seeing a large scale testing of all the policies and all the hate things that are happening against minorities in India happening. These are the laboratories where they are happening. What Orissa was to the late 90s after Graham Staines and Kandamal, we are seeing that happen now in Uttar Pradesh and spilling over into Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh at this tribal belt, because I think the RSS and the Hindu bandwagon at one level are trying to flame and incite tribal hatred against Christians. Then in cities and smaller cities like in Uttar Pradesh, they're trying to flame hatred against Christians because of their schools and hospitals. And we're seeing all of this happen slowly. So I'm not surprised.
But you are alarmed with the thing. Also, there is cases in Rajasthan.
Yeah, so the reason for the alarm I've already shared. But we have noticed from 2014, when we started monitoring and recording these cases of anybody who called us on our 1-800 number on our helpline and said we are being attacked for our just for being Christians. We had about 124 incidents reported, which we thought was very high. That was 2014, the first year that Mr. Modi came into power. But now in his third term of having been elected and come into power, those numbers are 800 plus. So we have seen this trend build up. We had seen Uttar Pradesh slowly rising as the state with the most amount of crimes against Christians, followed by Madhya Pradesh. Some years Madhya Pradesh would go up and Uttar Pradesh would be number two. But now, for the last 3-4 years, Uttar Pradesh has steadily held the number one position, and Chhattisgarh is quickly joining the bandwagon and is trying to hold number two in a very strong fashion. And these are states of great concern. Why? Because the great amount of Christian institutions that we have in Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand, which used to be a part of good old Uttar Pradesh, we have such great educational institutions. We have medical institutions. We have advanced rural medicine available, great community hospitals that have been created by missionaries that are 150, 200 years old. And all of these properties today have become prime, whether they are at hill stations, whether they are in the big cities, in the metros. So, in its own way, the government may be eyeing these properties today for their own selfish purposes. And so they are fanning this narrative of hatred, and fanning a whole theory that 1 billion Hindus may get converted to another faith and Hinduism will become a minority in India. And there are people who are actually believing that, knowing fully well that the Christian population of India was 2.3% during the time of independence, and maybe at a 2.3 today, maybe a little higher up and down, but nowhere close to the 60-70% population of India that you need to be able to overcome the entire majority religion there is. But these are the fears that people are actually believing, and they are being paraded. Yes.
I would like to know, what do you plan to do? I mean, as a community, what is the Christian community thinking of doing? That's one question. And the other one being, which I've followed up, is that what do you expect the government to do? Or, yeah.
So there are things we have been doing because, like you rightly pointed out, that this is no surprise in the sense we have slowly seen the build-up. Every year it has been growing now, and 834 this year. This is without counting in Manipur at all. And since the 3rd of May 2023, that Manipur has been burning, women and children have been tortured brutally, raped and killed, houses burnt, 220 churches demolished and destroyed. We are not at all seeing our Prime Minister take even one flight and go in that direction and land in Manipur and bring about some sort of peace, come down with a heavy hand and say, enough is enough. And the Chief Minister and all those who have been responsible for these uh, almost 20 months or 22 months of unabated violence uh, to be held to account. So we can tell you really that we don't have much faith in the government doing something proactive to protect the lives of minorities. All right. But we will continue doing what we do, which is informing the government, making sure our Prime Minister, our Home Minister, everybody is aware. As you know, earlier on in the month of January, on the 31st of December, technically, senior members of the United Christian Forum and almost 400 Christian leaders of great churches across India had joined to sign this letter that we had created together for informing the Prime Minister and President as to the state of the nation as far as Christians are concerned and what all positive steps we expect them to take. We've had no response, we've had no replies, but we continue to do what we are doing. As you know, personally, I am involved in the Supreme Court along with Bishop Machado, where we have filed uh, asking for some committee to be set up that can monitor these states that have these anti conversion laws to see if violence against Christians has gone up in these states, to actually monitor, understand, and survey and find out how many arrests have been made under these acts, how many of these are false arrests, what is going on, are Christians being persecuted, such much like the Sachar committee. We are also asking for the very same thing, and that's in the Supreme Court. So we are continuing to fight. There is nothing new and radically different that we will suddenly spring about doing. We will continue the good fight, and we'll continue it in good faith. And Christians across India will continue to pray for peace and harmony. We are a peace loving nation. We are a peace loving people. And Christians are a completely non violent people. The Bible tells us if somebody slaps you on one cheek, turn to them your other cheek. That is what Christians do. And we are the low hanging fruit. And that is why in the rural part of India, we see a lot of the unemployed youth having violent actions against Christians because they know A, the Christians will not attack again, and B, they seem to have some sort of uh, support from law enforcement agencies. So this their tenacity and their impunity has only grown.
What would you ask for the Prime Minister, Home Minister to do? What are your expectations? You have already said that you all are sending them the statement, and you are sending the figures and you whatever you record in terms of violence against Christians. So what are you planning? I mean, what do you expect the Home Minister and the Prime Minister actually to do?
So it is very important for the Prime Minister of India to take a stand, to be able to address the nation, to say, I'm aware that there are incidents of violence against minority communities, especially Christians, that are happening in India. I'm aware of the research that independent agencies are doing, and the numbers are hurting me. And from this day onwards, I want to make sure that no minority feels unsafe in India. I ask every police officer, every judicial person in every district of India to make sure that every minority and their right, whether they want to follow any other faith, whether they want to marry any other individual, all of that is protected. There will be no question. And if somebody is caught breaking this law, then the maximum penalty to somebody who oppresses their fellow citizen, their younger brother, younger sister, I will be, as prime minister, I will hold them responsible, and every government official in that district will be held responsible if such. I would like to hear the prime minister come down hard and say this at least once. That's one thing. Secondly, I would like our home minister to start training facilities or sessions for the different police, for the different SDMs, for the DMs, for the SPs, for the judicial magistrates that are there at some very lower levels to understand the rights of minorities, that they should be all of the protections that are guaranteed to them, they should be made aware of that. Even for the court cases, even for these FIRs that are being filed, the law says very clearly only the person who has been affected has the right to file the FIR. But in Uttar Pradesh, we find anybody. Any RSS, VHP, Bajrang Dal leader with a saffron patka can come in and file an FIR accusing somebody else of forced conversion of which he has never even experienced. And that person is now rotting in jail for the last 6, 8, 10 months. Over 110 such people in Uttar Pradesh are in jail based on wrongfully filed FIRs. So I want my home minister to be able to train the police officials, to give them the backbone to be able to take up a stand and to be able to say if some local rebel rouser comes to you in a saffron patka and in the name of religion tries to incite you to go and arrest somebody else or walk into a church and cause damage to that property, and if you dare do that, you will face the brunt of the Indian law. As a protector of the law, you're causing hurt. You're a traitor to our nation. I would like our home minister to be able to do that. I would like them to be able to understand and see how many people are in jail for crimes that are just mere accusations of third party that no court should be hearing, of our judiciary that is at fault now in some of these rural parts of India that is giving such travesty to justice for people who are being persecuted. I would like our home minister to be able to do this.
Right. Uh, Coming back to Manipur, why haven't you all recorded cases of violence against them, against the Christians there, ethnic minorities which are there?
That's a very good question. People want to know why is it that Manipur is not on the list of UCF cases. That is because UCF only reports phone calls that we have received from people. So our report, when you read the UCF data, should be taken along with other data of newspaper reports and television reports of people. There are certainly so many people who have not called our helpline. I'm telling you, 834 people called me last year to say, please help me. Our rights are being trampled. That's all I'm saying. And I can tell you which parts of the country they called from, and I provide that data. How many were women, how many were children, how many were adults, how many were institution leaders. I can provide that data to you. But people who have not called me, I don't report them at all. UCF does not do that, does not encourage that, because we have a very stringent policy of how we verify if it is actually a case of persecution and not a case of property disputes or marital disputes or family disputes or any other such dispute. We have to make sure, and only then we report.
Okay, I again from your statement, you all have noted and recorded that uh, Christian women, Christian tribals, Christian Dalits, their cases against them are pretty high, and they seem to be
Yes.
much more vulnerable than others.
Yes. Yes, so we know of 9 extremely violent crimes against women, 14 crimes against Dalits, and about 23 crimes we registered against the tribals in this year that has gone by. That is a huge spike. That is a huge spike in our numbers. Most of the time, it used to be the young preacher or the young priests who would be out on the road singing Christmas carols or distributing tracts who would get attacked. So most of the violent crimes were against men, male members of the cloth. But now we are seeing that take another road. We are seeing nuns who are being attacked. We are seeing mother superiors who have been put in jail on false charges of all kinds of forced conversions. We are seeing school teachers being harassed for having shared a story, or three women who were arrested for singing "Happy Birthday," and they were told that they were trying to convert. So we've seen some absurd things happen in this past year, which really does not even make any common sense, but it is happening in India, unchecked.
This is causing a huge economic also stress on the community because they all have to hire lawyers, and that is also a case of cause of concern. And properties are getting damaged, so they have to keep rebuilding. So again, there is an economic aspect to this thing. Have you kind of noted that also? Because property is damaged.
We have never counted the economic cost, but in Uttar Pradesh, as they were calling it, the bulldozer Raj, we've seen with impunity what governments which have been elected by the people for the people are doing against the people. And it is just the most pathetic of times when such things happen. It is very sad when one particular government believes that they are there to protect one particular community only because they have all the power. They control all the agencies. And if they make up their mind that this is the only community we want to protect and the rest we're going to eradicate, that's what they're doing. And there have to be checks and measures and balances and stop and safeguards that people working in UCF and so many other organizations are doing, not just Christians, not just Muslims, but even Hindu organizations, human rights organizations, just civil society organizations, huge area of concern as to where our nation is heading.
Lastly, I want to know, you all are also reaching out to international bodies who are monitoring cases of religious persecution or religious harassment on the basis of their religion. So are you reaching out to different bodies?
As United Christian Forum, when we take out our press release, the way it works today with the internet is nothing is hidden. Everything is available to all. So why hide something that everybody knows? It just sounds suspicious. Our reports are made public. We make them available to our president, our prime minister. We make them available to journalists like you and other people in the media who are interested in reporting. All the members of parliament, all the opposition leaders, all the chief ministers, all of them have this access. We also send it to the United Nations. They have a freedom of religion board that we keep updating with data. They require that. That's something that India had taken a pledge to be doing since we are part of the Human Rights Commission. And the Human Rights Charter very specifically talks about the freedom of religion of each citizen in all the member nations of the Human Rights Charter of the United Nations. So we do make it a point to report whether it is the US Congress, Senate, the European Parliament, the House of Lords, the House of Commons, everywhere on their email IDs, we send out all of the information so that the world is aware of what is happening.
I'm actually very grateful for you for taking this time out. Thank you for speaking to us. And we hope more action will be taken by the government to reduce crimes against uh,
Thank you.
Christians. So thanks
Thank you.
for speaking to us.
Our prayers are together. Thank you for all your efforts. And I really hope that our Prime Minister, our Home Minister, pay serious heed and attention to protect all citizens within India. Thank you.
तो आपका क्या मानना है? आपने सुना जो डॉक्टर विलियम्स कह रहे थे। क्रिश्चियन कम्युनिटी काफी चिंतित है जो इंक्रीज्ड वायलेंस हो रहा है क्रिश्चियनों के प्रति। आपका क्या मानना है? आप डेफिनेटली हमारे वीडियो पे कमेंट कीजिएगा। आप इसको लाइक, शेयर और सब्सक्राइब भी कीजिएगा। बहुत सारे लोग हमारे वीडियोस देखते हैं पर सब्सक्राइब नहीं कर रहे हैं। आप डेफिनेटली भूलना मत और सब्सक्राइब कीजिएगा। नमस्ते।